Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Ruth, and today we're diving into a shocking piece of history that most people have never heard of. This is the story of the Kyshtym disaster, and why the world nearly forgot it ever happened. Everyone knows about Chernobyl. It's the symbol of nuclear catastrophe, of human error, and of what happens when secrecy meets science gone wrong. But what if I told you? Chernobyl wasn't the first time the Soviet Union faced nuclear disaster. Nearly 3 decades earlier, in a town that didn't officially exist, a massive explosion released a radioactive cloud over thousands of square kilometers. Thousands of people were affected. Entire villages vanished. And for over 30 years, the government denied anything had ever happened. This is the story of the Kyshtym disaster, a nuclear catastrophe that history nearly erased. After World War II, the world entered a dangerous arms race. The United States had shown the devastating power of nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Soviet Union, determined not to fall behind, rushed to create its own atomic bomb. To achieve this, the Soviets needed secrecy. So they built a city, hidden deep in the Ural Mountains. This city didn't appear on maps. Residents couldn't send mail with its name on it. It was simply known as Chelyabinsk 40. The heart of the secret city was a massive nuclear facility called Mayak. Its job, to produce weapons-grade plutonium. The city was populated with elite scientists, engineers, and workers, people who were rewarded with better food, housing, and salaries. But what they didn't know was that their lives were ticking toward a disaster. Behind the modern facilities and smiling propaganda posters, Mayak had a problem. It was producing enormous amounts of radioactive waste and had nowhere safe to put it. On September 29, 1957, something went catastrophically wrong. One of the underground steel tanks used to store high-level radioactive waste had lost its cooling system nearly a year before. Over time, the waste inside heated up, silently, invisibly, until the pressure reached a critical point. And then it exploded. The blast was equivalent to about 75 tons of TNT. A thick radioactive cloud surged into the atmosphere, drifting northeast and contaminating an enormous area. The explosion released 20 million curies of radiation, an amount comparable to multiple Hiroshima bombs. But the people nearby had no idea. There were no alarms, no emergency announcements, no protective measures. Life went on as usual until, slowly, it didn't. As radiation spread silently across the countryside, the Soviet government's top priority wasn't saving lives, it was saving face. Entire villages in the path of the radioactive cloud were quietly evacuated. No explanations were given. People were told to pack and leave, often with no idea why. Some of these villages were bulldozed after the residents were removed, others were fenced off and left to decay. In total, over 10,000 people were relocated. Many never returned. But for those not evacuated, or who lived on the edge of the fallout zone, there was no help. Illnesses began to spread. Nausea, fatigue, unexplained burns, strange symptoms. Doctors were instructed to misdiagnose patients or avoid the word radiation entirely. The government classified all reports and threatened workers with punishment if they spoke out. For the outside world, and even for many in the Soviet Union, the disaster simply didn't exist. The worst part of the Kyshtym disaster wasn't just the explosion, it was what happened afterward. The Mayak facility continued to operate, and the radioactive waste didn't stop flowing. For years, even before the explosion, Liquid waste was dumped directly into the Tesha River, a lifeline for dozens of villages. People fished in the river. They drank from it. Children played in its waters. Without knowing, they were being poisoned. After the explosion, radiation levels soared. Farms became toxic. Animals died. People began showing signs of radiation sickness, hair loss, internal bleeding, and cancer. Pregnant women miscarried or gave birth to children with birth defects. Still, no one was warned. No one was evacuated from the riverbanks for years. Estimates vary, but tens of thousands were exposed to dangerous levels of radiation, and many suffered in silence, not knowing what was happening to them or why they were slowly dying. For decades, the Kyshtym disaster remained buried behind the Iron Curtain, but word started to leak out. In the 1970s, Western scientists studying radiation levels in the Soviet Union began noticing strange anomalies. By the 1980s, Soviet defectors told stories of a disaster deep in the Urals. Journalists speculated, intelligence agencies guessed, but still, there was no confirmation. Then, in 1989, 2 years after Chernobyl, the truth finally came out. Soviet scientists published reports admitting to a major radioactive accident in 1957. They named it after the nearest publicly known town, Kyshtym. It was ranked level 6 on the International Nuclear Event Scale, just one step below the catastrophic level 7 disasters of Chernobyl and Fukushima. And yet, it remained obscure. The world was still grappling with Chernobyl. Kyshtym became a footnote, an afterthought. No international aid was offered, no movies were made, no one outside Russia even really talked about it. Chernobyl taught us how dangerous nuclear technology can be, especially when shrouded in secrecy and lies. But Kyshtym taught us something even darker, that an entire disaster could be erased from public memory for decades. Thousands of lives were ruined. Entire communities were wiped off the map, and no one was held accountable. This was one of the worst nuclear disasters in history, yet almost no one knows it happened. Now you do. If you found this story powerful or disturbing, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves learning forgotten history. More untold stories are coming. Until then, stay curious.